guys, it's Anthony. Welcome back to the channel. I've been doing a lot of thinking about the mistakes we make when working the phones. Now, in future videos, we're going to go over all of the mistakes we make and then how to fix them, but just ones off the top of my head right now to maybe take a peek at and think about when going into tomorrow. The biggest mistake I think we make as salespeople when working the phones is we don't take it seriously. We don't take it as serious as we would if a customer was in front of us. So I think it's super important to recognize that when working the phone, you don't have to sell less hard, right? Like if you have a customer in front of you, most people would consider that a more serious interaction, or they're closer to making a deal, so I have to treat it more seriously. But that's not the case. You have to sell harder over the phone because you don't have the luxury of the customer seeing you, being able to read your disposition, your body language, which, your body language and your tonality, your disposition makes up a large percentage of how we actually communicate anyway with customers. So be mindful of when you are working the phones, you have to take it more serious. Now, I would say just as, but more serious than if you have a customer in front of you. So treat it seriously, take it seriously. Don't just do it because it's part of your job, or, you feel like, you'll be able to mentally check that box and look yourself in the mirror and say, all right, well, I did my job today. It just didn't work out. That's not going to work. That's not a recipe for success. I see that day in and day out. Salespeople will have a required quota of how many phone calls maybe they need to make by either their dealership standards or even the standards they set for themselves, so that they can sleep at night saying, I did what I was supposed to do, and whatever happens, happens. That's not the mentality we need in sales. Whatever happens, happens. No, we go and decide what happens. We make it happen. So if your quota or your minimum that, let's say your dealership says, hey, you have to make 50 phone calls per day to prospect the customers. Well, if you make 50 and you don't schedule any appointments for your customers to come in to buy a car from you, to bring customers into the dealership who otherwise wouldn't be there if you didn't exist, if you make 50 calls and that doesn't happen, you didn't do your job. You came up short. So you got to make 75 calls or 100 calls. It takes what it takes. So I don't think we take it seriously, and I don't think we identify what the actual goal is. The goal is not to make the phone calls. The goal is to make the phone call that leads to setting a confirmed and a concrete appointment for a customer to come in to the dealership to ultimately buy a car. So the call isn't what you're looking to do. You're looking to make the appointment. The call is just the step you have to take prior to actually setting the appointment. So super important to remember that. I would use an analogy that I use with my salespeople in the dealership, that if you make 50 phone calls and none of them lead to an actual confirmed appointment for a customer to come into the store at a later date to buy a car, you didn't do your job. You can make 100 phone calls, you make 200 phone calls, but if you don't set appointments, that's like the NFL offense who puts up 500 yards but doesn't score any points. Hey, what did you do? You didn't do anything. You can't win the game. You could have 1,000 yards, but if you don't score points, you didn't actually accomplish the goal. So kind of circling back, take the call seriously, understand what the task at hand really is. That's to set concrete and confirmed appointments. In future videos, we're going to really dive into all of the nuances of working the phones, the areas where we come up short, how we can make those mishaps better. And some of the things you probably haven't even thought of, because you really have to research and dive into this stuff and reflect and be like, oh, wow, I am doing that. Oh, you know what? Do I do that? Maybe I do. And then you look forward and you go, oh, I actually do that. So it's about just kind of tweaking things along the way. Future videos, car sales training, car sales tips, we're going to go over all of that stuff. But most importantly, take the call seriously. Don't sit there with a cluttered desk, eating Cheetos, or you have your lunch right here and you got the phone in the other hand and you have no guest sheet or deal sheet next to you to actually start writing down customers' information, where you're treating it like a future deal. You're writing notes on a napkin that's going to get thrown out somewhere anyway, or you have your call list. If you guys make lists, calls off of lists, you're eating your lunch on the back of that like it's a placemat setting. Like that's not a recipe for success. That's whatever happens, happens. If somebody picks up, great. If I make an appointment, cool. But no, that's not what we're doing. People do not perform up to their potential. They perform down to their systems. It's about having a system in place, having a game plan going into the call. Well, what if they say X, Y, and Z? Then what do I do? And that's where most people freeze up And that's where you lose credibility, and that's when the person doesn't trust you, and that's when they have no sense of urgency, or they're not incentivized in any way, shape, or form to come and see you, and you just sound like every other person on the phone that probably calls them 1,000 times per day. So it's important to have a game plan. It's important to know exactly what you're going to say and when you're going to say it. It's important to take the call seriously. It's important to know exactly what the goal is. We're going to go over all of this stuff in future videos. Probably going to put it out this week, if not in the coming weeks. And we'll go through, maybe we'll do 10 of the things that we do wrong when working the phone. And then we'll do another video of the 10 things we can do to make those better, or maybe combine the two. But treat the phone seriously. It can become your bread and butter. And another amazing thing about working the phones is that when they come in to see you, you already have the relationship established. You already know them, right? You know them via telephone. That's better than them just walking into the dealership, being a fresh up, and you have no clue who they are. Now you have to build rapport super quick. You got to get them to trust you. All the while, you got to do your product demonstration. Then you got to build value in the vehicle. Then you got to trial close them. And then they come in, you got to present. Like, all these things have to happen in a short period of time. And it's hard to gauge sometimes how much time that should you apply or dedicate to each step of the sale. If you can get the building rapport, the trusting, even educating them over the phone out of the way, it makes it that much better and that much easier. So we're going to go over all phone techniques, all of the different nuances to make sure you're a killer on the phone, because that's ultimately what you want to be. You don't want to sound just like everybody else, right? Because then they tune out, right? Identifying what the goal is, making sure you take working the phone seriously, and making sure that you're doing what it takes. It takes what it takes. Don't just do it to win, and do it to accomplish the goal and task at hand, which is to set a concrete appointment for a customer to get in front of you where you can exercise your talent and your skill set and then sell them a car. So hope you had a great day so far. Looking forward to talking to you later on this week. Pleasure, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye. Hey, my friend, thank you for watching. And if you want to see videos just like this one, please like and subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate the love and support. And don't forget, leave some comments down below. I'm looking forward to all of your interaction and feedback, and I can't wait to bring you more videos just like this one. Thanks again. I'll talk to you soon.